Adjusting. This is only a test. Do not panic. Here we go. For those of you tuning in early, we're just making sure the setup is going to work. This is a new setup, I hope, foolproof, avoiding some of the problems, technical problems that we had last time. We'll be starting in about 5 minutes. 8 o'clock is our scheduled time. Some of you may see the big head in the sky. It's an unusual constellation. We'll be turning that off shortly. Do it. Pay no attention to the man in the back of the room. There, that's a little better. Huh. The countdown is now -4 minutes. This will not be a scheduled blast off of NASA. Instead, this will be What's Up in the July Sky from UACNJ. We'll start shortly. All right, for those of you who have never been to UACNJ, United Astronomy Clubs in Hope, New Jersey, those of you who never visited, please raise your hand. Yes, anyone? Why are you raising your hands? This is one-way video, I can't see you. There was a trick question. Tonight, during What's Up in the July Sky, we'll be offering some trick questions like that. So please be on the lookout. We'll be starting in about 2 minutes. If things go silent for a couple of minutes, as Douglas Adams said in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, don't panic.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Virtual Jenny Jump. Our speaker tonight is going to be Lonny Buinis, talking about what's up in the July sky. Lonny is a co-founder of the United Astronomy Clubs of New Jersey and has been giving these talks for 26 years. He is an avid astronomer and artist. So without further ado, here's Lonny.
Thank you, Jan Buinis, and welcome and good evening, everyone. This is not an observatory from which I'm delivering my presentation tonight, but it's the best we can do under current conditions, or certain conditions, right? The current conditions. Current, not curtains, and not certain. Let's get that straight. So, what we're going to talk about tonight is what's up in the July sky. This is a talk that I do the first Saturday of each month, April through October, and then it's too cold for visitors to Hope, specifically the Jenny Jump Observatory, set of observatories at the United Astronomy Clubs of New Jersey. You can, the observatory will be reopening shortly, and you can come and visit in person. We hope July 11th and July 18th coming up. There'll be presentations that are done by other people in all topics, like black holes, other galaxies, other planets, extrasolar planets beyond our own solar system, many different topics. Mine is what's up in the July sky, and I'll also be doing a special talk on the 18th. So let's switch and take a look at what's up in the sky. We're combining a bit of old and new technologies, like tripods. And if at any time I use a technical term like tripod and it's not clear what that means, just raise your hand and I won't see it, because this is one-way video. When you visit the United Astronomy Clubs in Hope, not too far from the land of make-believe, we ask you to come outside and join us to see live demonstrations through telescopes, live views of any features that happen to be current through a variety of telescopes run by all different amateur astronomers who belong to the organizations that are member clubs and member organizations of United Astronomy Clubs. And there are many. So we won't be doing that tonight. You can go outside yourself and see the things that I'm talking about, and I hope you do, right? Because that's what we're all about. We're doing this for astronomy education and to inspire you to do these things for yourselves. You don't have to listen to a person like me bloviate about things that I know to make myself look important and intelligent, which of course I am, but so are you. And your first assignment for tonight is to look up the word bloviate on your phones while watching this presentation. Now, the following preview has been approved for all audiences. Children, you need not hide your eyes. We're going to talk about what's coming up in the sky. And to do this, I invite you all to go to csky.org, organization, csky.org. And if you can't find the calendar, the astronomy calendar, with this URL, which I see you're all furiously scribbling down notes, taking pictures of the screen, fantastic. I'm very proud of you. What you could do is just remember csky.org and click there on Explore the Sky. Explore the Sky. And then you're presented with a list. And the second item in the list is the Astronomy Reference Guide, because this website's more about than just the sky. Then you'll be presented with another screen that's completely confusing, but don't panic. Just look over on the left for the astronomical calendar and choose your year. What year is it again? Let's see. Is it 2030 yet? In 2029, an asteroid's going to pass right by the Earth, within the orbit of our satellites, our geosynchronous satellites, very close. It's not going to collide. Do not panic. It is the asteroid Apophis, and I'll talk more about that in a future presentation. Click on 2020, and you'll see that there's all kinds of things coming up. The full moon, July 5th. What day is that? Don't all answer at once? Yep, tomorrow. The full moon is terrible for viewing faint objects in the sky. And why is that? Well, the full moon sheds a lot of light, right? So if you want to see planets, that's fine, or bright stars. But if you want to see nebulae, that's clouds where stars are forming. If you want to see star clusters, right? It's not so good. Full moon interferes. So we should wait until the middle of the month when the moon is out of the sky. You can see the full moon now rising right opposite the sun. That's how it works. The sun is shining full on the moon. It's the worst time to see shadow details on the moon because, why? Because with the light behind us, there are no shadows. Now, some of you might have heard there's an eclipse of the moon, a penumbral eclipse. Boy, fancy word, penumbral. It means going through the penumbra of the Earth's shadow. The Earth has a deep shadow, the umbra, and a light part of the shadow on the outside, the penumbra. And unfortunately, although it will be visible through most of North America, if you go to Fred Espenak's eclipse site, they have all information on all kinds of eclipses, solar, lunar, in the past, in the future, in the present. Well, the problem is that the Earth's penumbra is this faint ring, which you might not even see out here. And the moon tomorrow night is passing through it just barely. And if you look at it, you probably won't even notice that it's dark, even at the darkest part of the eclipse, which is about 4:30 Universal Time. That's London time. We are 4 hours earlier, right, because we're rotating into the night. They get night first, or they get noon first, right? They get everything first. And then we rotate into the same position 4 hours later. So quick, mathematicians in the audience, what's 4:30 minus 4? Think about it. 0:30, 0 hours, midnight and a half. Half past midnight. Take a look, right? Go out there, July 5th, the night into July 6th, Sunday night into Monday. See if you can see a slight darkening on the upper part of the moon, the eyes of the man in the moon. Try it. Now, we do have a more favorable alignment of planets, of other things, planets, lined up with the Earth. This is the orbits seen from above the sun, about 20 astronomical units, AU, A period, U period. That's a measure that astronomers like to use, the distance from the Earth to the sun, the average distance, since the Earth does not go around the sun in a circle, but a slightly squashed circle, an ellipse. But on average, 1 AU, right? If you look about 5 AU out, you'll find the orbit of Jupiter, first of the giant planets. About almost 10 AU out, Saturn, the rings planet. So you can see that the orbits of the outer planets are enormous by comparison with the inner planets Mars, Earth, Venus, and Mercury. Look how they're lined up tonight. Right? Same side of the sun. The light is shining past the Earth onto Jupiter and Saturn. They are full lit up, right? No phase. You can't see them lit from the side. They're lit from behind. And they're bright. And these are big planets that send back a lot of light with big disks. So you can see them very well by eye. You won't see the disks. You won't see the disks even in a regular pair of binoculars. But even a small telescope will show details on Jupiter and Saturn, and some of these planets' many moons. So opposition, Jupiter, July 14th, Saturn, July 20th. Seasky.org has all this information. So best time to view details on the planets, on these particular planets. They're closest to Earth. For instance, Jupiter, 5 AU, minus the Earth, 1. 5 minus 1 is... So you didn't expect advanced mathematics tonight, did you? I apologize. 4 astronomical units. It takes the light from the sun 8 1/3 minutes to reach us at 1 astronomical unit. So quick, what's 4 times 8 1/3? More than half an hour. We will see Jupiter, when you look at Jupiter any night this week, at night, you're looking at it in the past by over half an hour. Even more, over an hour for Saturn. Right? 10 minus 1 is 9 AU times 8, 72. Round up, about 75 minutes is an hour and a quarter for the light to reach us. When we look out in space further and further, we look further and further back in time. It's mind-bending to do astronomy, even with the eye. It's fascinating. You can look into the past and see things as they were. Now, of course, for distant objects like galaxies, a million years is nothing in the life of a galaxy. So the nearest one to us, at over 2 million light years, takes light that long to reach us. We're seeing it as it was in the past, over 2 million years ago. Best time to look at faint objects is when the moon is not visible in the sky. When it's close to the sun, that phase of the moon is called the, hint, look at July 20th, the new moon, the new moon. All right, and again, if you want to convert universal time, UTC, that's London time, that's our prime meridian. 1733 minus 4 hours is 13, that's 1:33 in the afternoon, Eastern time. A little bit of mathematics, that's enough math for tonight. You can ignore June 20th at the top, that was a mistake. July 22nd, Mercury is stretched away from the sun as far west as it can go. Now, when you're facing south, which way is west? The sun will be setting on your right. Right? So Mercury going west of the sun, that means you won't see it at night. You'll see it in the morning. 20 degrees away from the sun is a chance to see the innermost and smallest of the rocky inner planets, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. If you want to see Earth, where do you look? In one of my favorite books, Science Made Stupid, Tom Weller explains an eclipse of the sun happens when you cover your, when the Earth blocks the light of the sun. He makes up a lot of silly stuff, but an eclipse of the Earth happens when you cover your eyes with your hands. July 28th, 29th is the peak of the Delta Aquarid meteor shower, coming from the constellation Aquarius. Average shower means 20 meteors per hour. 20 meteors per hour, an hour is 60 minutes, right? So every few minutes, every 3 minutes, you might see a bright meteor. But that's only if the sky is very dark. And most of us live where there are street lights. And so I have to warn you that this is not a major meteor shower. You can try. You might see 1 or 2 bright meteors in the course of an hour. But the idea is to be patient when you're doing amateur astronomy. Go out there, make yourselves comfortable. You'll have to get some scientific equipment. It's a little expensive. It's called a lawn chair. And you'll need your naked eye. That's a special piece of equipment. We were all born with them. Your naked eye. You want to lie back and look at the whole sky and watch for the origin point to spread out all over the sky, just like railroad tracks look like they meet in the distance. Well, we're passing through the debris field of 2 comets, Marsden and Kracht. And if I said Kracht wrong, you experts in the audience who can look that up, please let me know how to properly pronounce this name. You have a chance to see meteors actually for more than just July 28th and 29th, because it takes a while for the Earth to pass all the way through the debris field. I mentioned that it's coming from the constellation Aquarius. On a star chart, Aquarius is under the great square of Pegasus, the flying horse, the winged horse. Do you pronounce W-I-N-G-E-D as winged? That's how I was taught, right? Proper English, proper Greek, winged Pegasus. The way poets pronounce winged. So Pegasus has wings, let's put it that way. It's a big constellation. You look underneath, you'll see the fishes, Pisces. You see the water carrier who looks just like a guy carrying water. Yeah. It's also next to the Bikini Bottom, which happens to be my sign, my astrological sign. The sun was supposed to be there when I was born in Capricornus, which I'm embarrassed to admit is a sea goat, half fish. Doesn't get much worse than that. And to make matters worse, the sun wasn't there when I was born. It was over to the right in Sagittarius, the arrow shooter, the centaur. And astrology is now off by a whole constellation because the Earth in the last 3,000 years has wobbled a little bit. Right? It's wobbled away, so the Earth's North Pole is no longer in the tail of the dragon. It's in the Little Dipper. So what we could do for the rest of the night is talk about still pictures that show that right now the moon is passing by Sagittarius, which should have been my sign, right? But it's not. And it's right near Jupiter on July 5th and Saturn, making a nice group. And the problem with this is that it's boring. We're not going to do it. Boring. Boring. What we're going to do is use a free program called Stellarium, which you can find at stellarium.org. It's open source software. You programmers in the audience, young or old, can contribute to it. That's what open source means. You can help add to the program. It's been added to for years. I got it all the way up to version 0.20. Wow. I can't wait to get to 1, maybe in 10 years. Celestia is also a great program that lets you fly through the solar system, and we can play with that if we have time. But what I'm going to do right now is use the free program Stellarium, which is like having the sky in your living room, or on your tablet, or a computer, or on your phone. It's not an app designed for phones, although it can run on a phone, I believe, in a browser. No, I'm sorry, that's not true. There are apps that do that. So here we are facing south. How do we know it's south? Because you go outside and you look for a giant letter S printed on the ground, right? That's a test. You don't have to believe everything I say. We're looking at the sky tonight. Well, why don't we set the time? Well, let's see what problem there is when we look at the sky at 21 hours. What's 21 minus 12? 21 minus 12? 9 p.m. Right? 21 plus 9, 21 minus 9. Whoops, sorry, minus 12. 8 o'clock is 20, 9 o'clock is 21. Well, the problem with looking at the sky at 9 o'clock in the summer, in daylight savings time, is that things are still pretty bright. So you kids in the audience, I ask your parents if you can stay up till 10 o'clock. I can set the time exactly if I wished. The time is ticking away in real time here in Stellarium. And we can look south and see some bright objects, including a couple of planets. Now, this is the way the sky looks on the 4th tonight. What I like to do, though, is start in the west, because the Earth is rotating, right? It's spinning around like a top. And as it spins, it makes it look like the sky is moving left to right, if you face south, or spinning constellations, star pictures, around and around a giant circle near the North Pole. Right? So I like to start in the west because things are vanishing. The main sign of spring has a mane and a tail, and that is a sign of the zodiac, Leo, the lion. Leo the lion has a very nice colored star in it. It's a colored orangish, and it's called Aljiba, an ancient Arabic name. In Stellarium, star colors don't show very well, or don't show at all. But I urge you to go outside and see if you can tell star temperatures by their colors. It is possible. Your eye acts like a spectroscope. You can actually tell star temperatures. The sun is an average yellow. Some stars are hotter blue. Some are cooler orange. Look for algebra in the Leo the lion. If you really want to get oriented to the sky, I suggest that you begin in the north. So I'm going to pull the horizon over. You can left drag in Stellarium. You can zoom out with a scroll wheel and see 5 constellations that circle round and around the North Pole and never rise and never set. Never rise and never set. So why can't we see them during the daytime if they're still up there? Right? There's a star. Closest star gets in the way. It's got a lot of light. Magnitude minus 27. That's the sun. The moon is minus 11. Venus is minus 4. And average stars, bright stars, can be 1 or 0. Right? But we recognize this group here. Right? It's very large in the real sky. More like that. Can you see the Big Dipper? 7 stars? No, there are not 7 stars here. The original Native Americans would keep watch over a campfire sometimes, right? And they would elect the person who could see the 8 stars of the Big Dipper, or the Great Plough, as it's called in England, or the Pot. Different countries call it different things. The Ben star, Mizar, has a companion. Can you see it? Alcor, and it's an accidental double star. And it's actually called an apparent double. Alcor is behind Mizar, not related. It's not part of the system. But if you get close enough to Mizar, you would see that it's a true, what's called a true spectroscopic binary star with 2 stars that revolve around each other. I'm countering the Earth's motion here. See that? The Earth drags things over time. It's very slow. If you magnify the field of view enough in a telescope, you can actually watch this motion as the Earth carries us around and around in a circle, and the sky seems to pass by us. Follow the Big Dipper's pointer stars 5 times their distance apart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you'll just miss Polaris, named for the pole, the Earth's pole. The Earth is like a spinning top. If you could draw a line through any spinning object, that would be its axis. And the Earth has an axis, and the north part of it points right near that star, about here. Not quite at Polaris. You see the stars of the Little Dipper, these 7. These 3 are the brighter ones that we can see in light-polluted skies that have a lot of streetlights, like where I live, in an urban environment. Now, 3,000 years ago, this was our pole star. Thuban in the tale of Draco the Dragon. Let's bring this down a little bit. There we go. Thuban. So you can see how much the Earth has wobbled and moved the pole star in 3,000 years. That's why we don't have 12 signs of the zodiac anymore. What? Yeah, there are actually 13. Not taken into account by astrology. When you go to an astrologer, challenge them, ask them, well, what about Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer? So we have the Big Dipper, the Little Dipper, Draco, dragon, longest constellation, formerly the 2nd longest. It used to be Scorpion, Scorpius or Scorpio. They cut off his claws to make Libra. Now, there's also a queen who boasted that her daughter was more beautiful than any of the ancient Greek goddesses. This was a huge mistake, because if you've read your Greek mythology, go to the library, right? You know that the Greek goddesses were extremely jealous beings, and they didn't like what Cassiopeia had to say, so they punished her for looking in the mirror, and they punished her by chaining her daughter Andromeda to the rocks to be eaten by the sea serpent Cetus, who was rescued by Perseus, the hero, riding Pegasus, the flying horse, holding the head of Medusa, the Gorgon, all these characters in the sky. Right? Did you know that? They're all out there. They've been there for thousands of years, and so has the story. It's not just a story you can rent, Clash of the Titans, either the new version, right, or the old version. There's 2. Check them out. Right? You can read about it. Cassiopeia. Her husband, the king, Cepheus. A little bit more difficult without the pictures, right? How about without the lines? When I went up to Vermont and did some stargazing, I couldn't even find, I could see the W for Cassiopeia. I couldn't find Cepheus. I couldn't recognize him. To me, he looks like a house. Right? The body, the roof. Cassiopeia, that's relatively easy. If you took a trip to the nearest star to the sun, Alpha Centauri in the Centaur, you'd see a bright star right here, one of the brightest in the sky. It would be called Sol, our sun. We'd look like a bright star from 4 light years away, right there. Or maybe right there. I'll have to compute that and see. Let's cheat again and turn on the outline so it's easier to see. Now, you've all just learned 5 circumpolar constellations. They move around and around the pole and never stop, and never go away. And we can speed up time in Stellarium so we could watch this happen. Now, of course, they're still there, right? Still there in the daytime. We just can't see them. I'm going to set the time back. July 4th, midnight, 9 o'clock, 9:30. Boy, you know, it's still bright out, isn't it? That's not very advantageous. So why don't we make it 10 o'clock again? I know it's late for some of you, but you might want to ask your parents if it's okay. And now once you've seen these constellations, you can tell all your friends that this famous group of stars is not a constellation, it's an asterism. It's a star pattern that is only a piece of Ursa, head, claws, tail, Ursa Major, the Bear large, and Ursa Minor, the Bear small. Now that you know the north, swing over past the west to the south. Let's look at the most interesting part of the sky. Why? Because here are the signs of the zodiac. Here's the path that the sun makes through the sky. If we could see it, if we could draw it out into space, it would be the orbit of the Earth around the sun. And you can do that in Stellarium. You can turn on the markings, the marking especially called the ecliptic. The ecliptic. You look for the red line in the sky, right? Don't believe everything I say. It's not in the sky. Hanging. If you look in the south, you'll see the bright moon interfering tonight. Let's see what the moon looks like by getting a close-up look. Zoom in, and you see that the moon is getting towards full. It's not quite full. A little piece is missing. This is called a gibbous moon, Gibbous, not to be confused with gibbon moon. There is no such moon. A gibbon is a type of ape. The gibbous moon is a almost full, more than quarter moon. And you'll find it above the constellation Sagittarius, the archer, half man, half horse, a centaur. You'll find the scorpion nearby with its bright red heart star, Antares. The moon is interfering with our seeing the Milky Way, unfortunately. It will go away by the middle of the month. Right, I'll show you what the sky looks like later on the 15th. When you look above the spout of the teapot, that's what we amateurs call it, amateur astronomer. An amateur astronomer is somebody like me. We do it for love, not money. And I'll tell you, many professional astronomers do it without money too, because it's not a field where you necessarily make a lot of money. But we all do it for love, just to know more about the sky, because knowing about the sky helps us figure out where we've come from and where we're going. It gives you a bigger picture, something more to think about than just eating and sleeping, right? It's philosophy. It's mind expanding, for right here, right above the spout of the teapot, lies a black hole with a mass millions of times greater than the mass of our star, the sun. It's sucking in gas and dust and occasionally other stars, and someday it will merge with another supermassive black hole when we merge with the Andromeda Galaxy. Yep, write out your wills, get ready, folks. Oh, wait a minute, it's going to happen. Yeah, things are moving pretty quickly, 300 kilometers per second. All right, that's fast, but it's going to take 3 billion years for the two galaxies to merge. So don't worry. If you look higher up above Sagittarius near the horizon, this is one of the best times of the year to see these summer constellations. You'll find a very big constellation. A guy holding Serpens caput, Serpens caput head, Serpens cauda tail, Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer, the serpent carrier. And notice the ecliptic does go through part of Ophiuchus now, 3,000 years after astrologers named 12 signs of the zodiac. We now have 13 signs to help us find the path of the sun, moon, and planets. Virgo, sign of spring. Libra, the scales. Scorpius, you know what that is. Sagittarius, you know what that is. And Capricornus is coming up, the bikini bottom, my sign. You will find this month Jupiter and Saturn are very low in the sky. Not a good time to ask some of the amateurs at Jenny Jump, UACNJ observatories to see them, because they're very low in the sky, coming through a lot of haze and blocked sometimes by trees. But they will be better visible later at night if you wait, or if you just wait until what's up in the August sky. They'll be even higher at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. And I will be talking about them again next month. Let's round out this view of the summer sky for July with directly overhead. If you want to orient yourself, you can look backwards. I know it's going to make you dizzy. Look towards the south, but bend your head backwards to see the Big Dipper and follow the arc of its handle in a giant arc to Arcturus, fourth brightest nighttime star. Fifth brightest of all the stars we can see. Why? Because don't forget, sun, brightest star. It is a star. Arc to Arcturus in Boötes the herdsman. Looks just like a herdsman, herding goats, right? Speed to Spica the blue star. Orange, blue. Spectral classes tell us about the temperatures of stars. This is a cooler star than the sun. This is an A-type star, Spica, much hotter. 20,000 degrees. The sun is a mere 5 Kelvin, 10 Fahrenheit. Some stars like Arcturus, some orange and red stars, of which there are very many, can be hundreds of degrees. You know, hot as an oven. Not quite as hot as New Jersey in the summer. Look over to the left of Arcturus. Find the crown, corona. Corona borealis, northern crown. There is a corona australis. What does that mean, australis? We will leave that as an exercise to the viewer. Right? You can look that up. Over here, a famous hero, the letter H spells his name. He had a TV series. Kevin Sorbo played him. His head is upside down. This poor guy is Hercules. Hercules. And a good example of a deep sky object that we can see in Hercules looks like a fuzzy cloud in binoculars. Yes, you can actually see it in binoculars. A fuzzy cloud. If you have a small telescope, you will see stars. And in a large telescope, like those possessed of the Northwest Jersey Astronomical Association, right? They run beautiful dark sight observing, just as good as Jenny Jumps over in Blairstown. And they meet occasionally too. Look them up, nwjaa.org. You can see hundreds of stars through their giant telescope. This is M13, M number 13 in Messier's catalog, put together over a century ago. It's a cluster in a globe shape. You will never guess. Yeah, you don't have to guess. You can read it right here. It's a globular star cluster. Cluster of stars in a globe. These are ancient things formed early on in the formation of the galaxies. And our galaxy has hundreds of them moving around the central bulge of our galaxy, which is basically flat, in all kinds of crazy orbits in every direction. This one is the easiest to find in the skies of New Jersey. There's a bigger one, Omega Centauri, but you can guess from the name Centauri, it's in Centaurus, the Centaur, which is a southern constellation, so it's very low in the sky in New Jersey. Very hard to see. If you go to Florida, though, you can easily find not only Omega Centauri, but Alpha Centauri, the brightest star, the nearest star to the sun. A system of 3 stars, triple star system. Look for the great cluster, the globular cluster in Hercules. Ask the astronomers to show you when you visit the UACNJ set of observatories. One of them is the Lonny Buinis Observatory. I'm honored to have one named after me. But they're all open for you, the public. They're not to make our heads bigger, we amateur astronomers. They're for you. They're for you to enjoy the sky and maybe learn a little bit about it at the same time. That's what we're there for. It's called edutainment, folks. Edutainment. I'm sure many teachers would cringe at the term, but hey, I am a teacher, and I have fun learning about things and then telling people what I learned. That's why I do this. That's why we have these talks. If the sky is very dark, you may see the Milky Way rising up, crossing the entire sky late at night at Jenny Jump. It's one of the darkest sights to observe in the state of New Jersey. And I have seen not only the whole Milky Way, but a star factory, a place where stars are forming. If we look at the sky for later in the month, let's do that. Let's say the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, the moon leaves the sky, and we can find right here above the teapot spout, we can see a nebula, a gas cloud that is collapsing to form stars. This one has a dark lagoon of dust running down the middle. It's called the Lagoon Nebula, gas cloud where stars are being born. And how do we know? Because there are amateur astronomers so old, like me, who've been observing the sky for so long they can see stars forming. Yep, folks, we're not making it up. We could. Right nearby is another beautiful nebula, the Trifid or Trifid, threefold. Dark dust splits the nebula into 3 parts. This dust will collapse to form solar systems someday. Stars are forming now. Stars are forming, stars are dying, stars are exploding, but for the most part they are shining. All different kinds. And I urge you to come back and see what's up in the sky. Not only what's up in the sky once a month, but come back to Jenny Jump any Saturday and enjoy our free public programs. And with that, we're not done yet. Let's take a look at some news. Smallest black hole ever found? 2.6 solar masses. It's theoretically close to the absolute lower limit, and it was just found recently. These black holes, when they orbit each other like this, they usually merge and disturb space, just as Albert Einstein predicted a century ago with his mathematics. He predicted it so precisely that we now know he was exactly correct in his theory of general relativity, which predicts that space itself bends and warps when massive objects collide, like black holes. We can measure that tiny warp by the time it gets to us. The warp in space is so small that the warp, is smaller than the size of the nucleus of an atom, and yet with our lasers we can measure it for the first time in the last 10 years. And also, for the first time, we've seen light emitted from black holes merging because these 2 black holes are orbiting. This is an artist's conception now, this is not real. The black holes, as they merged, gave off light because they're embedded in a giant disk of gas orbiting a supermassive black hole, which, if you saw the movie about the black hole, you would see it looked something like that. If you want to get started in astronomy, what's a good way? Well, binoculars are good, all right? They can be a little expensive, the bigger ones, but a good pair of binoculars is a great way to start. Go to binoculars.com or look for Ed Ting's article on skyandtelescope.com. That's an astronomy magazine that's been out there for decades, right? Really good for beginners and lay people A layperson is a person who doesn't know much about a particular field, and that's what I am. I'm actually a layperson, just like you guys. Right? I just love to do this, so I've been doing it for a long time. I've been reading a lot about astronomy in books, in magazines, even online. You can even go to space.com. It's a good place to start. And if you want to upgrade to a telescope, those are a little more expensive. Go to Sky and Telescope, look for Kelly Beatty's article about choosing your first. But, of course, there is something cheaper, something universal. The best way, what is it? What is it? Can't hear you. Everybody? Yep. Your naked eye. Use it. Go outside. Look for the meteor shower. Look for some of the star colors. You won't find these constellations, however. Spicy and Atari, the stars of Drano, right? Aquarium and Orion. Corona with formaldehyde, the famous stinky star. You wouldn't measure the location of objects in the sky with right ascension and wrong ascension, because these things don't exist. They were invented by Tom Weller in Science Made Stupid, long out of print. It's available online, completely free. I think about the whole thing's out there, or at least most excerpts. It's a brilliant book. I'm lucky to have a copy. You can get one on eBay, and it's just one of the funniest books I've ever read. Tom Weller is a genius. He wrote the book, he illustrated the book, and he did it in the style of science books for kids from the 1960s, something I grew up with, the How and Why Wonder series. This is much funnier. I think you should check it out. I think it's a book just equal on a par for cleverness with Dr. Seuss's Green Eggs and Ham. A recap, of course, you didn't think you were getting away without a test. Oh no. Yep, look in the west, 9:30 in the middle of the month. I'm going to be looking now at the middle of the month to see Leo the lion setting in the west. If you want to see Leo, he disappears first. Look in the north for the circumpolar Big Bear, Little Bear, Dragon, King, and the Queen. And these just revolve around, revolve around as the Earth rotates around the North Star. Got it? All right, now let's review. South, 9:30. It's just getting dark. Look for very low in the sky, the Teapot, the Scorpion. Higher, Virgo. Arc to Arcturus from the Big Dipper's handle, speed to Spica. Orange and blue stars. Over to the left, the Crown. The hero Hercules with M13, a deep sky object. If you ask the amateur astronomers to look near the summer triangle of three bright stars, yes, you guessed it, a triangle of stars, it's called the summer triangle. Near the bright star Vega, which starred in a science fiction story, Contact by Carl Sagan, you will find right between these two stars a famous ring nebula. It's a puff of gas puffed out by a star that exploded its outer layers. Ask the amateur astronomers to show you the beautiful Ring Nebula M57. There's Messier again, Messier 57. He made a list of things that bothered him because he was looking for comets. Do you know why we remember him today? For comets? Nope. For having a weird name like Messier that looked like it says Messier? Nope. We remember him for all the stuff he threw out. So it's like my mother always told me, don't throw anything away. Could be useful. So if you look down below these stars, you'll find the Serpent carrier of Fucus, where the sun and the moon pass through, and the planets. If you want to find planets, you make a line between these constellations. You'll find the moon, you'll find Jupiter rising first, and then Saturn later on at night. 9:30 on the 15th. Let's go back. All right, tonight, see how low the moon and Jupiter are? But in only 11 days, they're much higher when you look at the sky the same time. This is why I urge you to join me for What's Up in the Sky every month, because the sky will shift like this. Every month, you get to see a slightly different sky, different kinds of objects visible. And that's why I love doing this, because there's always something new to see. Don't forget Hercules with M13. This is a close-up. Don't forget to look for the beautiful globular cluster. This is the Hubble Space Telescope type image, right? 500,000 stars. If you lived here, your night sky would look like the nights in New Jersey, like street lights. And Jupiter and Saturn to the left of the teapot. Speaking of Jupiter, amateur astronomers can now take beautiful, detailed pictures of Jupiter, its famous red spot, a giant storm bigger than the Earth, its moon Callisto, one of the darker of the 4 giant Galilean moons. Right? It's wonderful. This was taken with a 14-inch telescope and advanced video processing with a CCD camera. But you can take pictures. You can take some nice pictures of Jupiter, even with your smartphones, through the telescope. You can try it. It's a little hard to do, but I've seen people do it. Same guy, Christopher Goh, took a beautiful picture of Mars, visible in the morning sky. You can see dark features on Mars. We used to think this was plant life. We now know it's dark rocks. Yup, scientific term, dark rocks, basalt. I've written a book that uses virtual reality objects of the kind I'm going to show you when we're done. Space History Mystery Solved. It's a lot of fun. My wife helped, and that's available everywhere. Even advertised on my website, astronomyinmotion.com. So I'm going to give you some homework. That's the only advertisement for tonight. Visit our website, please. I pronounce it UACNJ. Everyone, after me, UACNJ.org, the United Astronomy Clubs of New Jersey. If you join an astronomy club, it will probably be a member of this organization. And you can come and help us look for stuff in the sky in one of the darkest sites in the state. There are still print magazines, Sky and Telescope and Astronomy, written for lay people like you and me. They're also online. You can subscribe. You can get information from them for free, too. A subscription gets you more information. There are apps like Skyview for phones. I have that one. But I found 24 that you can hold your phone up to the sky and it tells you what's up there. For tablets or laptops or desktops, try Stellarium and Celestia. Free. I belong to an organization of international artists, astronomical artists, IAAA.org, and there you can see the work of many artists. There are about 180 of us throughout the world. Small group, very specialized field. But my own website is linked there, or you can remember Astronomy in Motion. I like to make things move. Astronomy in Motion. And before I end this show, I'm going to leave that up for you note takers. I know you were taking notes, and show you something I've been working on just lately. I just finished this 2 days ago. This is a virtual reality model of one of the nearest stars to the sun. It's got a very complicated numerical name, but the guy who found it, Michael Luhmann, has it named after him now, and it's Luhmann 16b because it's a double star. There are 2 of them, A and B. This one is the first to be mapped by Doppler shift. These are actual real features on a red star that you can pull in 3D. You can rotate all the way around it at any angle, 360. And this is what's called a virtual reality object. I specialize in making them. I'm creating one now on the planet Mars that will have narrated movies, narrated by my wife, Jan, and that will be available for sale, cheap, sometime soon, I hope. These are molten rock and molten iron features you're seeing in the atmosphere of a star, and they are real. These are actually what they look like. The resolution, the sharpness is very low, but it's exciting that it can be done at all. And with that, I want to give time for questions, see if there's anything in chat. We've got your homework here. Don't forget to write all this down or take a picture. Nobody writes anything anymore, right? Someone asks you to write your name. You print your name, right? Or do you just use a digital stamp? I don't know. I want to thank you for being such a good audience. I'm going to pause and wait here for a while, see if any questions come up. I think there is a chat feature here. Let me see if I can locate it. Requests. Well. Yeah, I don't see any questions. But you know, if you do have questions, you can always email me. My website has a link to Lonny Buinis at gmail.com. That's Lonny, not I-E, Lonny, Buinis, B-U-I-N-I-S. Lonny Buinis at gmail.com. Or just go to astronomyinmotion.com. Let's see. What do we have here? Write a comment. No, I don't want to write a comment. I see people. I obviously don't know how to do this. But if there are questions, I hope that you will email me. Or, go on UACNJ.org and you can perhaps make a comment there. Let me see who else is up here. I do see things happening. Nope. All right. Well, then I'm going to invite all of you to come visit the United Astronomy Clubs in Hope. We have directions. Bring a telescope, bring binoculars, bring your naked eyes, bring a comfortable lawn chair, and come on any Saturday. Again, we're planning to be open again to the public with keeping proper space distance. I believe it's the 11th and the 18th, and from there on, we hope to have, originally we hope to have a live speaker the 18th, but I'll be doing a special show, the nature of which, unfortunately, I've forgotten because I've got so excited about this show that I totally forgot what I'm doing on the 18th, but I hope you'll come in and visit and hear me blather on and bloviate and extemporize and talk. You've been a very good audience. I want to thank you for coming to visit What's Up in the July Sky. And stay tuned for the test. No, I was just kidding. We're done. Thank you very much, and good night, everybody. Hope to see you soon.